Hello, today we are going to learn how to make this Wonder Woman inspired headband. You will need some yellow or gold fabric, a star applique in red, some elastic, some thread matching the star and the fabric in red and yellow, some scissors, a ruler, an 8.5 by 11 sheet of letter size paper, a marker or pen, some straight pins, and you will also need some fusible interfacing. Okay, first of all, we will fold the paper in half and then measure 3.75 inches down from the top of the paper on the folded side. Now we'll do the same thing on the non-folded side and then connect those two marks with a line across. Next we'll measure 2.5 inches up from the line that we just drew on the opposite side of the fold, and then do the same thing on the folded side. Now we will connect those with a dotted line. Next, measure 3 inches in from the folded side and make a mark. This is the last measurement we have to do, I promise. Now we're going to do a freehand curve from the corner to that mark that we just made, and that's going to be the point of the crown. Now we just have to cut it out. Now we will just take a piece of the fabric and fold it in half, right sides together, and place our pattern on, pinning all the edges so that we can cut it out and we'll have two pieces at the end. This next step is optional, but it's definitely helpful. I'm using a fusible interfacing on the reverse side of one of the crown pieces, and you just take the shiny side of the fusible interfacing and then press that onto the back of the crown piece. Definitely be careful with your iron. As you can see, I have a mark on the back of my hand. That is a scar from being burned by the iron. Don't do that. Okay, and then we're just going to press it lightly on the other side as well, just to make sure that it's fully fused, and then trim the edges. Okay, so now we are going to add the star. It is an iron-on applique, but we are going to be sewing it on as well. So right now I'm just finding the center point of the crown. Make sure you're adding the star to the piece that has the interfacing on the back. It will help stabilize it while you're sewing it. So I'm just kind of eyeballing it to make sure that it's centered, and then just lightly pressing that down. Make sure your iron is on the proper setting so you don't accidentally melt your fabric. And then we'll do the same thing on the reverse, just to make sure that the applique is fully adhered to the crown. Okay, now it's time to cut out what will be used on the back part of the crown that will go around the back of your head and contain the elastic. So it's just a simple rectangle that's 4 inches by 24 inches when it's unfolded, but I'm doing it an easy way here. We can just fold up 2 inches and then cut along that line, and where you've pinned the fabric, and you don't need to unpin it because you're going to be sewing it up just like this. Now cut a piece of elastic that's 1/2 inch to 1 inch wide to a 13.5 inch length. Now let's sew the star on. So you're going to just go very slowly and stitch around the edge of the star, and then when you reach a point Make sure the needle is down, lift the presser foot, and then rotate the work. And then put the presser foot down and continue. You definitely want to use a good matching color to the applique just in case you make any mistakes, then they won't be as noticeable. Now that we have our star fully attached, let's pin the front and the back side of the crown together. Now you're just going to be pinning the top edge and the bottom edge of the crown and then leaving the sides open. Now stitch everything that you've pinned together. So here I'm just stitching the casing edge about 1/4 inch from the raw edge. And now we'll do the same thing with the top of the crown and the bottom edge of the crown. Again, make sure that your needle is down whenever you pull your pins out, just so that it doesn't accidentally pull your work out of place. This is an optional step, but it just makes it a little more finished and durable. I'm just doing a quick zigzag stitch along the seam allowance of every seam that I just sewed. Okay, here are our pieces after they've been stitched, just to show you a quick close-up of the zigzag stitch. Here's a helpful hint. Just clip a little bit on those curved edges of the top of the crown. That will really help when you turn it right side out to make sure that the front of the crown doesn't pull the fabric of the back of the crown. Okay, now the fun part, I guess, question mark. We just have to turn everything that we've just sewn right side out. Now this is in super fast forward because it does take quite a while and quite a bit of patience. Okay, so I turned the casing right side out and I'm just feeding the elastic inside the casing and then pinning the edge on one side and then feeding the other side of the elastic to the other side of the casing, and then we'll pin that side too. Now we'll do the same thing with the crown piece. This is a little trickier because it has the interfacing and it has the point, so I'm using some not very sharp scissors to make sure that point comes through. To help the crown have a little bit more of a curved shape, we'll just press it over a rolled bath towel. And we have a picture of our inspiration over there to the left, the wonderful Lynda Carter. Now we will just stitch closed the edge of the casing, which has the elastic inside. I'm going to go over this a few times just because this is kind of the point that gets the most stretch when you're wearing the headband and putting it on and off of your head. Now we're going to top stitch the top edge of the crown. This will just give it a little bit more of a finished look and also give it a little bit more durability, so you can just throw it in the wash. And we'll do the same thing on the bottom edge, but after we insert the casing. So it's about 1/8 of an inch from the edge, and again, make sure you're using matching thread color just because it will hide any little tiny mistakes. And here's what it looks like after you do the top stitching. So now we're going to fold in those raw ends of the crown about 1/2 inch and just tuck that in there. This is where we're going to insert the casing edge with the elastic, and then we'll pin that together. Stitch along the edge that you just pinned, connecting the crown to the casing. I'm sewing it on the front and the back just because it's so close to the edge. I just want to make sure none of the fabric slips through. And now we're taking the other side and doing the same thing. Just make sure that when you bring the other side over that it's not twisted. Okay, here it is, the final step. Just top stitching the bottom edge of the crown, same way you did on the top, just about 1/8 inch from the edge. Again, giving it a finished look and just giving it a little bit more shape and structure. Woohoo! We're all finished. I just really love this headband and how comfortable and versatile it is. This is more of like a functional headband that you can use to keep your hair out of your face while you're working out, or while you're doing your makeup, or your skincare routine, washing your face. It's a lot of fun. But you can do this same pattern, use this same pattern, and make something a little more costume-like or fancy, which is what I did here. I just used a gold lame fabric, and I just inserted the elastic directly into the edges instead of making the casing on the back. And it just blends really nicely in the hair, and it's also still really comfortable to wear. Oh, I also made this bracelet really easily by just buying a cheap jewelry silver bracelet and putting a sticker on it. It's so easy! If you enjoyed this video, please make sure to give it a thumbs up and also subscribe to my channel because I'll be doing a tutorial on the hair and makeup that you see here as well. Thank you so much and enjoy!